they'll
through this.
give us a little bit of a
It's
kickback
just,
for it, would they?
well, the fewer contracts you bid out, then you have less administration on them, and you're
Okay.
able to, you get a larger dollar value, it ends up being more efficient. But it entirely depends also on the nature of the work. You never want to try to stretch one contract and handle too many different types of trades where you can, for instance, the meter install would be bid as a meter install contract, whereas earthwork to build a road and rehab the spring would be bid by a general contractor. And when you do those two different contracts, it allows contractors to specialize in that work.
Well,
Bid. But so that's where the CDBG project stands, is that we sent a letter over that we have to Rose, she put on the letterhead, and have Dan sign it, requesting Fish and Wildlife. Now, they were well aware of this whole conversation about time extension, and now that we have the official letter from OCR, they can go ahead and with this formal letter that requests their final determination, and then they can respond in a letter form.
I already signed it, by the way.
Okay, then
I can give it to you before you leave if you
that'd
want.
be wonderful. That way we can make the paper copy for our record and send it out to them tomorrow. It'll work great. And so that's what's going on with that time extension. Now, in the interim this month, the village contacted us. I think one of the board members had noticed that there was a new grant program that had been advertised by the State Health Department Environmental Facilities Corporation. We discussed it with Mary Chappell, who is on the project team. She's from the fiscal advisor firm Municipal Solutions, and she'd also heard of it. And reviewing this particular program, it's a basically they're throwing $20 million into the EFC, Environmental Facilities Corporation, operates, administers the Clean Water State Revolving Fund and the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund in New York. In those monies, clean water goes to storm and sewer, drinking water obviously goes to drinking water projects. And it's a competitive application, and the village has already applied for DWSRF money. They're listed on the intended use plan. Last year they were below the funding line, so they were offered a loan to do the whole water project, but they were offered it with only marginally subsidized interest, no grant money, because they did not fall below what's called the hardship line, and that's what opened you up to grants. This is some additional money that's kind of has some requirements on being eligible to apply for it. And it appears from our review of this that the village's project would be eligible, and so we recommend that you have us look, go ahead with having what I explained to Dan over the phone. Is what we'd probably do is have Mary Chappell, our office, Dan, or anybody from the board that's interested in being involved in this. We contact the engineer at the State Health Department that will be administering the program. He's very aware of this project. He's been involved since day one when the project was brought up back in 2013. He's read the reports that have been done so far. So he'll be able to tell us. From my concern at this point is to do the application. Among the things you need is an engineer's report. Our original engineer's report for the project was in March of 2013. So the dollar values on some of the construction costs should probably be updated, since realistically you're looking at construction in 2016 or 17. You're looking at out a little ways, and we had only rolled the report forward so many years when we wrote it in 2013. Also, it would give the opportunity, it would be an amendment to the report, so it would be a short report, but it would also give the opportunity to discuss with them that CDBG did give us the $600,000 and how we divided out a scope of work that we're handling with that. The two kind of have to stay together in that it's co-funding gives us more points in the grant process and for the project. But Mary can speak to all of that. But anyhow, our review of this grant program is that we think the village should certainly look into it and pursue it.
Do we have an approximate range what we think we could apply for?
Well, The overall project we identified in 2013 was approximately $3.6 million in that report. And at this point, that I wouldn't be surprised, without even looking at the numbers specifically, I wouldn't be surprised if it was close to 400,000 at this point, when you just look at the increase in cost of construction rolled forward for a number of years. The program basically, you can receive up to $2 million in grant, or 60% of the total project cost, whichever is less. Total project cost is inclusive of other grants and co-funding, and I've heard of projects where if you receive grant like CDBG, they may thus only offer you 1.4 million, 1.6 million. But Mary can again speak to that, and that's what Mike Montisco from the health department could explain the maximum benefit you'd be eligible for.
Are we able to reapply with CDBG for another portion of a grant? Like as far as phase 2?
I don't believe on this same project. I don't believe so, because the grant originally offered was for the project as an entity. But again, Mary might be able to answer that, but I believe it's a one-time per project with CDBG, the Public Infrastructure Improvement. But this money certainly, it appears, if we're eligible, and then of course it's a competitive process. It's just like applying for the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. Again, it's actually the same forms, but they say even if you're already listed on the intended use plan, which means you're already in their program, applying for the normal Drinking Water State Revolving Fund monies, you have to apply again, especially for this.
But what you're saying is it's substantial money.
Oh, it's very substantial, and it's going to be likely the best opportunity the village is going to face.
Better than DWSRF for next year?
I don't know exactly about that, because as I mentioned, you guys qualified, you were above the funding line. I'm saying above the funding line, it comes out, the intended use plan is literally a document, and if you start with the highest scored project and work your way down, and there'll be a line and they'll say everything below this we don't fund because we ran out of money. And then the hardship line is, what happens is everybody that falls above the funding line will be offered an invitation to submit a hardship application. Okay, and that's a whole other application that you fill out and send in, and that includes information on what loans you're already paying on. So what is the annual cost of water for an average user? Income information on the community, like average median household income, and all that gets looked at. And if you qualify, they'll offer you a hardship determination, and that's where there's grant money usually involved. This particular grant program is an extra infusion above and beyond what they typically have available in the year.
Okay.
And this is, they're basically advertising it as they expect to do this for 3 fiscal years in a row, $20 million a year, each of those 3 years. But I think one of the eligibility items is that you cannot have no DWSRF additional subsidization, grant or principal forgiveness. So basically, they won't let you get grant through DWSRF and this grant. But if one or the other gets you the grant, this is additional money available, then it's another opportunity to get the grant that will close. I know that, and this was last year, but the previous funding package offered by DWSRF, I don't recall off the top of my head the interest rate, but I know that Municipal Solutions prepared schedules and went over them with the board at that time, and the basic determination made by that board was that even with the subsidized interest, the overall project just wasn't affordable. It was going to cost too much per person with the amount of debt you have to take on, even
Right.
even if the interest rate is a couple of percent below what open market is, it's still it's a $3 million loan. So if we could apply and do end up being selected and get $2 million grant or an additional 1.4, I don't know yet, if that CDBG grant interferes there, but either way, that's a substantial chunk of the.
So what do we need to do to get the ball rolling and start applying for it?
Well, I think that we need to, like I said, have a conference call with Mike Montisco. I'm scheduled to listen in on a webinar on Thursday morning that explains this whole grant program. I went ahead and signed up for that anyways. So I'll hopefully have a better understanding after Thursday morning when the health department, and that's open to anybody if anyone's interested in sitting through 2 hour webinar. It'll be right online and it's open. I can forward an email link to register for it if anyone's interested. But yeah, if we set up a conference call, go straight to the health department and ask them what do we need to do as far as updating an engineer's report. The deadline is September 4th, so we have to move pretty quickly if we want to pursue this opportunity. But since the forms are the same as the DWSRF listing, which the village already did that application, I think it was last year or the year before when that was filled out, Municipal Solutions should have most of the information they need, it just might need to be updated. But
So you're saying that we have to apply by September?
September 4th.
So what we should do is probably pass a resolution that if everything is, keep this in motion, because that's a very short time frame.
Yes, it is.
And there's no logical reason not to apply for this.
Yeah, you may be interested in talking to Municipal Solutions just to understand their fees for an application. I don't know off the top of my head what their fees would be. I imagine you're talking fairly minimal for the admin to submit an application, but you might want to know what those are. But
It's risk reward. I learned a long time ago that you work just as hard for a $5,000 grant as you do for $1.5 million, so you might as well go for the $1.5 million. And
yeah.
so,
The other thing with the report is that the village would want to, the original project that's described in this 2013 report, it's full transmission line replacement all the way from the tank, all the way from the 2 treatment plants up to the tank.
Right.
It's a significant project, and I know that there's been discussions that since then, as we've had time to really look at the whole system and say, well, if we get this metering in, maybe we don't need to replace all the transmission lines. And so it's gonna be a little bit of a, Mary Chapel, if she's able to see what the grant availability is, and then she might be able to do some projections and say, well, if we do a $4 million project with $2 million in grant, what's that gonna mean for an average user, at least ballpark figures, versus the village scaling it back. What the village needs to do though is when you apply for this grant, you're applying saying, this is the project I'm gonna do, and you can't apply and say, I'm gonna do all of this, and then when you get the money, only do half of it. Basically so you have to commit to the project you actually want to do. And if it's not the full scope of what's in this report, then that's something you'd address in this addendum.
So,
that we'd write.
Do I need to meet with both you and Mary Chapel first and Municipal Solutions so that we?
A conference call with Mary Chapel and,
Okay.
and the village and our office would probably be the way to start it, and then we can probably just call Mike Montisco when we're all on the phone.
Okay.
At the health department. We would be able to facilitate scheduling a time with him that he's gonna be available.
Okay.
And I don't know,
And anybody, all of us can be on that call, correct?
yeah, certainly, it's
Okay.
certainly board members frequently participate, at least listen in. Mary this is why Mary's involved in this project, is she has, tons of experience. So obviously with the CDBG project, she's the reason we were able to get an extension, because of her experience with Charlie and knowing where to bring the topic up with him when she did. So, she'll be the guide when it comes to this grant side of things.
Okay.
I think, can I call you, say tomorrow, and try to see what we can talk about
Absolutely.
scheduling? And
Yeah.
talk to her.
Anytime, I'll just take
Yeah.
the time allotted to be able to do that, that's not a problem.
Okay.
What were you saying about passing a resolution for what?
I'm just saying, we're gonna have to move fairly fast on this if we're gonna go forward. I'm just saying, do we need to reposition ourselves so that we can, with a resolution, that we go forward based on your recommendation, or I'm just trying to say.
Oh, yeah.
Rather than call a meeting and such, is there a way that we can streamline this, that's all I'm saying.
You'll have an August meeting before that deadline, but it'll be fairly close to
Okay.
that.
So that's
so then would we aim that, I come back and report, or, I mean, anybody that's able to partake of the calls or be on the conference calls, whatever, to be part of it, and, you know, instead of just taking my word, but I mean, do we wanna just wait to, I don't know, like, do we wanna wait till I talk with them to get things going, or do we wanna pass a resolution to get the ball rolling, so if there's paperwork or anything that needs to be signed, to go ahead and do such, is that?
I mean, you have the July 27th? Yeah, July 27th meeting, in addition to the August regular meeting.
So we plan on
So-
July 27th meeting, that's where,
We can report back on
well,
We
we
certainly should be
You
able to
could-
have conference calls before then to find out the details and make sure we're eligible, make sure
Okay.
Put
we
that
know
on
what
the
we need
agenda
to
for
do.
the work session phase then?
so we'd be prepared for it.
Yeah.
That way,
Yeah.
you'll,
I understand, we just wanna be able to move fast, because that's a very short time frame,
it is, they only,
and it's good money.
you know, issued this at basically the end of June, is when they announced it, and then, they've been open for a short while there. It's not actually, $20 million sounds like a lot of money, but when you look at all the projects across the state,
No,
it's not that large of a
And
pool.
sometimes short time frames just speed everybody out as fast as
Mhm.
possible.
I mean, there are quite a few eligibility things, and they're narrowing it down. 75% of the funds have to be expended to hardship eligible communities, so they're specifically trying to deal with, and the project here should, I mean, it scores fairly high because of, the situation, having a contaminated well and all of that. We were 5 or 10 points below the hardship line last year, and they expect that to drop, is what they're saying for this next year, so.
Okay.
And it doesn't hurt to apply this year, if you don't get it, and then they have money available the next 2 years after that, they're primed to pursue that. But, I mean, that's ultimately what it's gonna take. It seems from talking with Mary, that seems like what it's gonna take for the village to be able to complete the overall project is grant money from some source. Because the remaining 3 million or 3 million plus on the project after the CDBG project is just, as a loan, is a lot with what the village already owes on water loans.
Is there, when do we start the whole bid process for the meters and all that? That's coming up, isn't it? I'm sorry.
The schedule that we have put together, basically has us this month, the month of July, wrapping up the NEPA review with getting Fish and Wildlife's response back, and then, publicizing the combined FONSI, notice of intent, request for release of funds. Hopefully, before the end of August, receiving that release of funds approval from the funding agency. We can't bid anything until that is, to have that release of funds letter. We can't commit, the village cannot commit to expend funds, so they can't bid the job.
So the meters will be done then until fall then?
Yes, I mean, on our schedule, we have basically putting the meter contract into the health department, before, over the next July to August timeframe, with bidding the contract in August and September, hopefully being able to award it sometime in September, and therefore start the work, getting into the fall here. So it's really gonna end up being over the winter type of contract for the meters.
It will be.
I believe that's what it looks like. I mean, by the time, like, when you bid a job, typically you get the bids back in, and, we usually try to schedule the bid opening, a week or a little over a week in advance of a board meeting.
Okay.
And that way we have time to review the bids, go through them all, call references, whatever, and make our recommendation to the board about, accepting the low bid or not. And, typically it comes down to accepting the low bid. And then, from that point, it usually, the board would issue what's called a notice of award. They notify the contractor fast track it, you're either having special meetings, or if you have regularly scheduled meetings at 2-week intervals, I don't know if this one is a special one at the end of July, but, you know, typically it's at least a 2-week period for them to get their proofs of insurance bonds, sign the agreement, then the board can sign the agreement, countersign it, that's the contract with the contractor.
Okay,
Then you issue what's called a notice to proceed, and that usually gives them a period of 10 days to start the work, and then there's a contract time. So when they start the work, it starts the clock on the contract time, which is whatever period of time we have written up the contract on. We look at the scope of work and see how long we think it's gonna take for a
Okay.
contract to do it. It might be 180 days is a, you know, I'm just throwing a number out there, I haven't thought through that fully yet, but
cool.
you don't wanna make it too short, because then you just end up doing a change order to extend it. But if you have deadlines that you're aiming for, you'll usually set the time frame to make sure the contract is done in time. Otherwise, you give them enough time to be able to do it.
Well, 4 months would be more than ample time for
Yeah.
them to get that.
I think here, because it's a replacement, in Randolph, they did the bulk of the work in like a month, but they had a few outline, you know, problem ones that stretched it out there. We had previously talked with Corey about having the DPW deal with, if there's a meter installation that's something's strange or unusual about it, have the DPW deal with that particular installation in the I mean, but that, again, like I said, that was with Corey, and depending on who we have, you know, who the village has, you know, if you have enough guys to commit to doing stuff like that,
Okay,
that's an option. Otherwise, you have the contract to do it all.
alright,
But the point of all that long explanation is that when you bid a job out, it's realistically a month to as long as 2 months before they're gonna actually be doing work on the job, just because of the paperwork that has to be exchanged and time periods of getting it all going. And we can compress that, like I said, if we schedule special meetings so that we're not waiting for the next board meeting to roll around, or pass resolutions authorizing a board member or the mayor to sign contracts once the contractor gets us all the eligible paperwork, you know, that type of stuff, you can streamline it.
okay.
Are there any further questions?
I don't have any, anybody else?
Nope.
We're all
Thank you
pretty
very
good.
much.
Yes.
Wonderful.
It's a good day to take a walk out through Kelly Summit with you.
Okay.
Whenever you've got time here within the next couple weeks or whatever.
All right, yeah, I should be able to get out there easily, whatever works for you.
Well, I'll give you a call.
What's your,
257-10-151.
I got it.
okay, I should get a reach out, they're on the same page.
Okay, well, I just want to go out there and kind of look at things and see what you got in mind and see what's going on with the project and stuff. And get a grasp on things. You know, we can go up there and walk around, not disturb the bat.
And I know I had sent an email to Dan about getting water records, drawings that you have on the system, like the site and stuff. Do you guys have access to that? At the-
Someplace I should have all that stuff. I think I have the original work schedule, but
Okay, well, I'll get with you about that too, because we're going to very soon need records on the tank site and the Blackmore well site and the Cobble well site. So anything we can get.
see what I can find.
No,
Sounds good. Alright, Rose?
Jake, there you go.
Thank you very much. Did you make a copy for yourself for your records, or?
Yeah, if you want. Hey, Rose, we're making a motion to, have a 5-minute recess. Work for you?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
Who wants to second
I'll
it?
second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Carried and approved.
I'll scan